Well, just when I'm feeling all important that we're having the president, Jeb Bartlett, Martin Sheen on in just a few minutes, Chairman John Yarmuth releases a statement saying, as I discussed with President Biden yesterday in the Oval Office, name dropper. Good morning, Chairman.
I had to do it. You know, it was funny. When we went to the White House, there were 13 of us a week ago Friday, and we didn't know where we were going to be meeting, and I didn't know that I was in the Oval Office until I was in the Oval Office.
It's the one with no corner. It's the one with no corners.
Yeah, I know, but I'd never been in there before. When I'd been there with Obama, I'd always been in the cabinet room or the Roosevelt room or something else. And we walked in, and President Biden was standing there greeting us all as we walked in the room. So I was focused on him, and we bumped elbows and said hi. And then I walked around him, and I said, "Oh my God, this is it." And I will tell you, I sat there for about 30 seconds and said, I get it.
Yeah.
I get the mystique.
I get why people go through so much to get here. Can I just tell you, Chris Lavoie, my producer, had the same. We got a tour of the White House, and he did the same thing. He was like, "Oh my God, this is the
I did.
Yeah, my son asked me. We met with him for 2 hours, and my son asked me after the meeting, "At what point did it become a normal meeting?" And I said, never. No. The whole time.
Your brain the whole time was, I'm in the Oval Office.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, as you said in your name-dropping statement, as I discussed with President Biden and congressional leaders in the Oval Office this morning, the enormity of the crisis we face makes it clear there is no such thing as going too fast or too bold in our efforts to ensure workers, families, and small businesses, hard-hit communities get the relief they need. Bully, sir, as chairman of the... How fancy are we? We have the chairman of the House Budget Committee. But I mean, it just, I have to say, watching his town hall last night, Chairman, it was such a relief, that we actually have competence and kindness and empathy. And, I don't know, give me this one talking about, I love the way he is framing COVID relief. Here he is from last night.
I take issue with what everybody says about the division. For example, my plan on COVID, 69% of the American people supported. 69. In this state, recent poll, 60%. 60%. 45% of Trump voters and 55% of Republican voters. The nation is not divided.
I love how Jen Psaki keeps addressing this, right? Bipartisanship is not, what doesn't make Susan Collins frown. It's what a majority of the American people want. And I've seen polling way higher than that for his COVID relief plan, correct?
Yeah, there have been polls that showed 75, 78% support for the plan, the American Rescue Plan. And he kept emphasizing that throughout the 2 hours we were with him. It was, and I think he's been very emboldened by it. He sees it as a real opportunity where he knows he has the country behind him. And therefore, he has all the political capital he needs to try and roll over the Republicans in Congress. Because he knows they're on the short side of it. And that's really encouraging for those of us who want to be pretty ambitious, not just with the American Rescue Plan, but with other agenda items as well.
Yeah. First of all, I get it, Chairman. You were with the president in the Oval Office for 2 hours. We've covered it. Okay.
Yeah, probably nobody says that about being in my office with the chairman of the Budget Committee.
I was with the chairman of the Budget Committee. No, but I love what you did on Twitter. It was almost like a little school of rock, like about explaining what, Republicans are complaining about Dems using budget reconciliation. Have they used it before? And then you just said, yes, the GOP used reconciliation to pass their GOP tax scam and tried to use it to dismantle the ACA. Dems are using it to deliver crucial COVID relief. So thank you. And then someone said, does that mean budget reconciliation is a partisan process? You said, no, not at all. Budget reconciliation doesn't preclude bipartisan action, and Republicans can choose to support the bill, but ensures Congress can deliver POTUS and the American Rescue Plan, the COVID relief our nation needs. And so I, for one, am so glad you're doing it this way, because we've been through this before, and the president's been through this before, where they negotiate, they water it down, they negotiate, and then none of them vote for it anyway. And people don't get the help they need.
That's right. We did, when we passed the ACA in 2010, we really worked on it for all of 2009 and part of 2010. And we kept making concessions to Republicans thinking we were going to get votes. We dropped the public option. We dropped the provision to let the government negotiate drug prices. All of those designed to get Republican votes. And ultimately, we never got one. And I think, the president's absolutely right. As he said in the Oval Office the other day.
Oh, for God's sakes, Chairman.
He's absolutely right that, we don't have time to wait around and see if Republicans are going to help us.
Yeah. Well, and I love that
he
extended the ban on housing foreclosures to June 30th. It was set to expire March 31st. On his first day in office, he extended it from January 31st. I just love that he's head down, moving forward, just doing what he can, whether it's through reconciliation or executive order Chairman, I guess in the light of January 6th, I don't know how you work with some of these people that voted to overturn our democracy, but won't admit Biden even won legitimately. And they're saying, why aren't you for unity? Why aren't you for bipartisanship? And you're like, what?
No, it's very difficult. At noon, I'm going to be in a program, a long-standing kind of public debate program. And they asked me if they could invite Rand Paul to be on with me. And I said, you can invite him, but I'll guarantee you it will not be civil.
Yeah.
Because I can't be civil around him anymore.
He won't even wear a mask. Yeah.
That's right. So it's very difficult trying to figure out how to deal with people who seem very unconcerned about whether democracy survives and whether, in fact, members of Congress and the vice president survived an actual attack.
Yeah.
It's just very, very difficult to be civil and to think that they're worth working with.
Yeah.
And I put out a tweet the other day talking about that vote on acquittal. And I said, those people aren't protecting Trump. They're protecting the insurrectionists because they're the voters that they're trying to cater to.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, dropping that name, Rand Paul, was not at all impressive. But and I'm sorry I'm sorry for the delay to interrupt, but I find it so disrespectful, particularly that President Biden now has said on all federal property you must wear a mask, and he just refuses in the Senate. It's so emblematic of who he is. Anyway. So this
is.
Go ahead. Sorry, sir. Yeah.
No, I just said it is absolutely.
So
he sold his soul along with Lindsey Graham and a bunch of other members. I think he sold his soul along with Lindsey just so he could play golf with Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. The other Politico headline, GOP tries to weaponize pandemic exhausted parents against Biden. Imagine what could be accomplished if Republicans work to solve problems for schools, teachers vaccinated, upgrade school ventilation systems, instead of the GOP weaponizing COVID concerns. It just seems like as a party, this is just what they do now. It's like, how do we win? How do we win on a political issue? You would think if there's ever been a we, Chairman, it's COVID. It's all of our kids. It's all of our lives. It's all of our school. It's like all of us want to get our lives back. Why won't they work with you in good faith on just one thing? It's all about political points for them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many of them actually vote for the COVID relief package because, they've been almost unanimously against aid to state and local governments when a lot of Republican governors and mayors are screaming for their help. And, they're going to be voting against $1,400 checks for 85% of their constituents and unemployment assistance and money for schools, all those things they're going to have to vote against. Are they going to be that politically crazy to do that? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, and the other what I want to talk to you about is a $15 minimum wage, obviously. So the CBO said Monday raising the federal minimum wage would have a significantly broader budgetary impact than two provisions of the 2017 Republican tax cut legislation that passed through reconciliation, a finding that provides another boost to Bernie Sanders and others who, are trying to include that in the COVID package. So
Right.
skipping, the CBO analysis comes as Sanders is trying to make the case to some skeptical Democrats to include it. So what do you think the chances are? I mean, I'm sort of torn that this is so critical that people need relief right now. We also need the $15 minimum wage, but what do you think the chances are of getting it in this bill?
Well, I think they're probably not good, not from a substantive perspective, but from a procedural one. In order to use reconciliation, you have to follow certain rules, and one of the rules is that it's called a Byrd rule, and named after Robert Byrd, and it says that the provision, whatever it is, in this case the $15 minimum wage, cannot add to the deficit outside of the 10-year budget window. So it couldn't increase the deficit outside of 2031. It's hard to make an argument that wouldn't happen, and of course, and CBO says that. But they're trying to make some adjustments now. They're trying to see if whether they can make it either, instead of reaching $15 in 2025, that reaches $15 in 2030. Whether they can go to $12 or $13 an hour, whether that makes it more palatable. But the one argument that's really disingenuous from Republicans on this is that they're worried about the impact on small businesses, and we're all concerned about that. But this only takes the minimum wage to $9.25 for the next year. Well, virtually nobody can live on $9.25. I don't care if you're in small town Alabama or you're in San Francisco. So they're using this ultimate $15 an hour as something to scare people with. But again, it's staged in $9.25, then $10.50, then $11.75, and so forth over the next 4 years. So again, it's too easy to use headlines and make a case these days. For instance, the CBO provision, the CBO report that is routinely publicized as saying CBO says that raising the minimum wage this way would cost 1.4 million jobs. That's not what the CBO report says. It says of all the range of estimates that they can make of the impact, the average is 1.4 million jobs. It could be zero. So they need to say, it needs to be reported as it could cost 1.4 million jobs, but it could cost no jobs.
Right.
And so, but we know that, I mean, that's the way the world works. We know we have to put up with that kind of thing. Anyway.
Well, speaking of partisanship, how about this headline? Fox News host floats impeachment for Nancy Pelosi over her role in the Capitol attack. So we're, talking about doing this 9/11 style commission, which we desperately need. And of course, Republicans just want to focus it on Capitol Police and Pelosi as if they're to blame for, and not, of course, Trump or anybody on their side that has been. And by the way, speaking of people on their side, your home state senator of Mitch McConnell, fight with Donald Trump. Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, who's going to win that fight? Because, he's saying Trump is to blame for this, obviously. And now we have, who's going to win that fight in the Republican Party?
Great question. I don't think Mitch is going to win. I think that his actions in the impeachment trial really cost him. I mean, because it didn't make either side happy. And he made the speech after the vote in order to placate Republican donors who are shying away from Republican candidates, and I guess to maybe buy him some bit of not honor, I can't say that, but some bit of redemption in his legacy. But he carefully constructed the argument that 43 senators used to vote to acquit. I mean, that was his argument.
Yeah.
That you can't impeach a president who's left office. But they don't really care. I mean, I saw Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, Republican, blaming the storm that hit Texas, quite a disaster, on California.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. On the Green New Deal, which they haven't enacted there, and 90% of their energy is oil and gas. This is what I mean. This whole party is just about blaming other people, scoring political points. And I give you credit for being in the trenches for us every day. And I have a meeting. I have a meeting with President Jeb Bartlett now. You probably have a meeting with President Biden. So we have to go. We're very busy, very important. But thank you.
Tell Jeb hi for me.
Yes.